Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to draft a basic gown pattern. If it's something you are interested in, let's get into it. So the first thing I will do is to mark an horizontal line of 1 inch as the starting point, which will also serve as our shoulder line. I'll mark that out and connect it into a straight line. The next thing is to input my shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement I'll be using here is 15 inches divided by 2. That will be 7.5. So I'll have 7.5 marked there. Then come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll mark my neck width of 3 inches and connect it to the shoulder slope. The next thing is to input our armhole depth. To get the armhole depth, I'm going to be dividing bust by 6 inches plus 1.5, of which will give me 6.5. So I'll mark 6.5 here. Then I'll measure what I have there from that 6.5 to the shoulder line and mark it all around to mark out a straight line. Then I'll connect that together on a straight line. This new line is our chest line. On the chest line, I'm going to input my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5. Then connect that together. That will be our armhole line. From that chest line, I'm going to measure 2 inches away from the chest line. That will be the bust line. I'll mark that out and connect it into a straight line. This here is our bust line. From the shoulder, I'll measure shoulder to waist measurements. The shoulder to waist measurement I'm using here is 16 inches. I'll mark out 16 inches. Then connect that together on a straight line. This is our waistline. The next thing I'll measure out is our shoulder to hip. The shoulder to hip I'm using here is 25 inches. Then I'll mark out 25 inches. Then connect this together on a straight line. This is the hip line. Then now I'll input the length, the full length of the gown. For these, I'm using length of 34 inches. So I measured out 34 inches and marked it out. Then I connected that together. That is our M line. Next thing is to input the dart line. So the dart I'm using here is 4 inches. I'll mark out the 4 inches. The length of my dart from the waistline down is 5 inches. I used 5 inches down. And for the upper dart, I came down 1 inch from the bust line. Then connect that together on a straight line. On the waistline, I'm going to measure out half an inch on both sides. Then connect it to the dart legs. Now I'll input my measurements. For my bust, which is 40 inches, divided by 4. So I'll input the quarter of my bust, which is 10 inches. For the waist, 32 inches, I'll input quarter of 32 inches, 8 inches. Then we add the dart back to it, which is 1 inch. For the hip I'm using here is also 40 inches. So divided by 4, I'm going to have 10 inches. I'm going to mark that. Then for the M line, depends on what you want. If you are making a straight gown, or a pencil gown. So if you are making a straight gown, you will measure out your hip divided by 4, and that's what we use there. But if it's a pencil gown, you minus 4 from your hip measurement. So here that I have 40 as my hip measurement, I'll minus 4 from it. I'll have 36. Is that 36? I'll divide by 4 to get my measurement. So that is what I'll input there, which is 9 inches. Then I'll connect them together. I'll connect the bust to the waist, then the waist to the hip, and from the hip to the hem. I didn't realize the camera did not capture the entire paper till I was done. So I'll still show you the lower parts after drafting. Because of our bust, the shoulder to waist measurements for the front is usually different from the shoulder to waist measurements for the back. So we introduce the bust dart. The bust dart I'm using here is 1.5. You subtract your shoulder to waist measurements for the front from the shoulder to waist measurements for the back. The shoulder to waist measurement I have for the back is 14.5. I remove that from 16. I have 1.5. So that is what I marked there for my bust dart. On the armhole, you measure out what you have there, then divide it by 2. And on that point, you come in by half an inch. Then connect all the points together for your armhole curve. These are the points you're going to make sure connect together. Then draw out your armhole curve. Then now I'll mark out my neck depth. I'm using a neck depth of 3 inches for this front neckline. And I'll connect that to the 3 inches width. And yes, these are front pattern ready. So I'm showing us the part that did not show earlier. So I'll just input the hip measurement and the M measurement. Which I used hip minus 4 divided by 4 for that. So we are done with our front pattern. Now I'll be drafting the back pattern. For the back pattern, I will mark an horizontal line of 1 inch, which will be our shoulder line and the starting point. Then connect that together on a straight line. Then I'll mark out a vertical line of 2 inches. That is for our zip allowance. Then now I'll measure out my shoulder measurement, which is 15 that I used earlier. Divided by 2, I have 7.5. I'll mark that out. Then come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then measure out 3 inches for the width, for the neck width, and connect it to the shoulder slope. Then measure out my armhole depth, which is 6.5. Plus the 1 inch used for the shoulder slope. I will input that and connect it together on a straight line. This is our chest line. On the chest line, I'm going to input my shoulder measurement, which is 7.5 on the chest line. Then connect that together also. That's for the armhole. This is the back pattern. You don't need to measure out your bust line. So the next measurement I will be inputting is my shoulder to waist measurement, which I explained earlier that is different from the shoulder to the waist for the front. The shoulder to the waist for the back is 14.5. For this person I'm drafting for. It's usually not the same thing with the front because of the bust in front. Then I'll connect that together on a straight line. This is our waistline. Then now measure out your shoulder to hip. Shoulder to hip I'm using here is 25 inches. And mark out 25 inches. And connect it together on a straight line. This is our hip line. Then I'll input the length, the full length. And also connect that together on a straight line. Now increase the dart measurement. I'll be using 4 inches also for the back. Then connect it together. On the waistline, I'll measure half an inch on both sides and connect it to the dart legs. To avoid zip bulge, on the waistline, I'm going to come in by 3/4 of an inch. I'll mark that out and connect it to the line. Then increase the measurement, the bust measurement, which is 40 inches divided by 4. I'm going to mark out 10 inches. On the waistline, I'm going to start my measurement from the 3/4 of an inch I measured. So from that 3/4, I'm going to measure out the waist, which is 8 inches, plus the 1 inch dart allowance. I'll add that. So that will be 9 inches there. Then I'll input the hip measurement, which is 40 divided by 4. That's quarter of my hip. That's 10 inches. Input 10 inches there. And at the hem line, I'm going to input 9 inches. I already explained how I got that. So that's the hem line. Then I'll connect it together. Connect the waist to the bust, then from the waist to the hip. And from the hip to the hem line. Now I'll mark out the armhole. On the armhole line, I'll measure what I have there and divide it by 2. Then mark out the point. I'll use my armhole cuff to connect it together. Then on the neckline, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inch for my neck depth and connect it to the 3 inches width. Then add 1 inch for my zip allowance. So I'll mark out 1 inch for the zip allowance. I need to mark it from the 3/4 of an inch. That's where I'm going to start my marking from for the 1 inch. I won't start from the initial line. So the zip allowance will also not be straight because we went in by 3/4 of an inch. Then I'll connect that together. And that's it for our back pattern too. Now we have our back pattern ready. So we have both our back and front pattern here. The blue is our front pattern and the one I use red marker for is the back pattern. If you have any question, drop it in the comment section and I will do well to answer them. And that's it for drafting.